This is going to be a quick video about color changing in the Mkal. Fun fact, my editing software will not save videos if I haven't finished editing them before my phone runs out of battery. So all the videos I made, unfortunately, that were in the middle of being edited, got deleted. Thus the reason there's a lot more work that you haven't seen. I'll continue though, so that I can show you everything that you should have seen then. I'm going to start with something really quick. I have an enlarged stitch over here on the edge. And I did that on purpose. I pulled the yarn too tightly one time when I carried to show you what will happen if you are too loose or too tight. Or even if you don't work it the right way when you're going across. If you don't work with the proper tension. But you can fix these. So I'm going to show you really quickly how to fix that. So this loop right here, all you have to do is follow the yarn. It's actually the left leg that's coming from the back and the right leg that's going this way to the next stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull on the bottom where that leg's coming through. Now, it should not be this small. That's the size of one stitch. These edge stitches should be around there, the size of 2 stitches, 2 rows tall, not 2 width, but 2 rows tall, because they're slipped. They're not supposed to be just one, or they would actually hold your blanket hostage. They should be actually just a smidge taller than 2 so that they're allowing stretch, because you don't get the same stretch from edge stitches due to the fact that you have half a stitch on this side and half a stitch on that side. They're only connected to one other stitch, so they don't give you the same stretch because they can't borrow yarn the same way as a normal stitch could. So you should actually give yourself a little room here. Otherwise, what you're going to have is your blanket should have edges, my favorite stitch markers. It should have edges like this. You should have a perfect 90-degree angle. If you aren't getting enough stretch on your edge stitches, if you're not working them a little bit looser, what's going to happen is your yarn is going, or your center stitches are going to start going like that because there's not enough stretch to get them up there where they should be. So you're going to notice that your blanket will start to bow. If your middle stitches are starting to bow, just loosen up on your edge stitches a little bit. Work them just a little bit looser and allow them the space so that they can stretch tall enough to keep everything even in the middle. The hypotenuse of your triangle, which is this middle part, you should have a right triangle, perfect 90-degree angle here on the corner, and then there should be a straight line. If it's starting to bow up, it means that these edge stitches are too tight. If for some reason it bows down, which I have not seen from anybody, and it's an incredibly rare thing, but if for some reason it bows down, it would mean that you're working too tightly in the middle and your edges and your first stitches are far looser. So it means your tension is way too loose in the middle, or way too tight in the middle. But most often I see this. If it's not going perfectly straight across, then your edge stitches are a little bit too tight. So just remember to keep them a little bit loose. They will snap back when you block. They will also allow you stretch with your blanket. I mean, they're not going to get as much stretch as like the middle will because they're not the same thing. There's only a half a stitch connected. So see how I can pull this one and I can pull this one way farther? That pulls way more bounce. So you need to keep them a little bit looser. All right, back to my how to fix an edge stitch. Okay, so this funky thing is way out of shape. And let me grab a bigger needle. Grab my DPN so you can see a little better. So to fix this, like I said, this is the one that's going to come across. Just follow your yarn. You don't have to memorize where it's coming from. Just watch it. Look at the yarn and I can see, oh, all right, it's going under here. Now what comes back? Oh, it's right here. So grab it, pull it, and it's okay if you take a little bit extra at the beginning because it's not going to keep it all. You're going to slowly just move a little bit at a time. So it's okay if you make it a little bit tighter, not too tight, not like that. but if I pull it down, I actually loosen it because I haven't put it into another stitch yet. Once you put it in the second stitch, it's a little harder to get it back again without maneuvering like this. Okay, so let's see. Here's your yarn coming up. Now where does it go? Just watch your yarn. So it's going to come back there next. And if you're not sure, just pull on something. You know, pull a little bit. See, oh, that's not it. Let's try something else. Oh, there it is. Okay, so my edge looks a lot better now. Now I have to keep moving this along, just scooching a little bit of yarn at a time. So where's your next one? Well, let's see. This is currently my stitch. Matter of fact, let me grab a stitch marker. Sorry, when I knit, I don't like removable stitch markers. I like stitch markers that fit my needles. I don't like stitch markers that aren't soldered when I knit because that little bit gets caught. I mean, I want solid soldered. I want them to match my needle size so that the yarn doesn't get, huge wide waves around it. But I like to keep these on hand too, just to watch stuff. So I'm going to mark where this stitch is. This stitch is coming from here. That's my mother of pearl. Isn't that pretty? We sell those. They are so pretty. Our little autistic kids, I can't say little, most of them are bigger than me. They're all teenagers, but they make them. It's so cool. All right, so that's where it's coming from. Now let's see. Where is this yarn going? Well, I see it here. Let me see if I pull. It's not one of these two, so it must be coming behind it. And there I go. I've got that one. Well, that looks like it's pretty good. Pulled enough. Now I need to maneuver it just a little bit more. So I'll take just a little bit of it there. And now where's it coming? Oh, it's going down. Let's see. Let's play around. Is it this one? Nope. Actually, it was that one. But that's right. And so I just maneuver yarn a little bit at a time. And what I'm doing is I'm taking that excess and I'm spreading it out over enough stitches that it's no longer noticeable. Minus the fact that there's a loose strand. How the heck did the strand get loose? That's me playing with yarn. Actually, I know I shouldn't be taking the time to make this perfect right now. I'm just showing you the basics. But my point is that if you look at, let me straighten this one out too. If you look at these edge stitches now, they look a lot better than they did. So I could play with them, I could play with them more and make them look a lot prettier. The white looks a lot bigger right here, as does this one, just because they are loose strands. So the white is where I first joined white. You don't want to, or I'm sorry, where it last came off. Where I first joined, I've already fixed it. Now, what I was saying before is, if you pull your strand, it's going to cinch up your first stitch, and it's very ugly. It does not look good. It needs to breathe. It needs to be the same size as everything else. So it's okay to pull it enough that it's not a big fat wonky stitch, but you don't want to strangle it. And that's coming from me, who strangles everything. And then these you'll actually fix when you carry the yarn. Better, yes. And even these you can fix once you're done with the blanket. I actually went through my edge stitches when I was done. Obviously your left side's going to be different because it's in the nature of how you slip stitches. But you can fix these at the end. You can go through. I tweaked all the edges up. I just went through and did a couple little, that looks better, evened them out. If you do that before you block, and then you block it, the blocking will actually set in that look. So you don't have to do it again. It's wonderful. Okay, so we're going to do some color changing. In my first video, I started at row 97 That's where I'm at right now. I cast it on an even number, and I only knit even. Let me move these up. I only knit even for a few rows to just to establish a base here. So I did some garter stitch as if it was section 1, and then I started doing the increasing as if this was row 97 when I joined the white yarn. So I did 97 with the white and 98 back with the white, and I showed how to switch colors. Well, I'm going to show you again, but I'm going to start with the 4-row transition because I already did the 2-row. So this will be a backwards video. I'm going to show you the 2-row at the end. What I mean by 4-row is 97 and 98 were white. Then you're going to have 99, 100, 101, 102. 4 rows of the leaves. I'm going to call this orange just for the video. You're going to have 4 rows of this leaves color. While it's just fine to have 4 rows and then carry your white up, you don't want your white to be loose for 4 rows, which means you need to lock it in after 2. So how do you lock it in? Well, that's what I'm going to show you right here. So I would have ended right here. I had ended row, what was I at? Row 100? Yes, I was, because I should make 1 purl. I would have ended row 100. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and undo a couple stitches. I'm going to tink so that you can see how I would lock in my yarn if I was going 4 rows without changing. And you will have this every time you have a transition. You're going to have either 2 rows or 4 rows of one color before you change to another. So I'm going to show you what you would do at the 4-row section every time. So let's undo these. Give me 1 second. Well, I can show you. The only odd thing is I'm doing this through a camera, so bear with me because I can't see 3D, so tinking is going to look a little funny right now. There's 1, and I did that backwards. Come back here. There's 1, and 2. And 3. Actually, I'm going to go back an extra stitch and I'm going to show you the make 1 purl as well. So let's drop that border one and let's drop that make 1 purl. Okay, so let me see if I can get an angle that I can see and show you. That'll be a miracle. Come on, you little stinker. Stay in my hand, please. Thank you. Okay, so the make 1 purl. For reference, this would be, you can see at the back how everything's working. This would be row 100. So I'd be purling across. Row 99 was the knit 1, yarn over and then knit 2 together. The yarn over, knit 2 together just underneath that. So where you see the little orange around the white, orange around the white, orange around the white. Those are the yarn over, knit 2 togethers going that way. And then this is row 100 coming back where I am just purling all of those stitches across. Okay, so row 100, after you purl all the way to the marker, you're going to make 1 purl. So let me put this back on so you know that I'm at the marker. Okay, so I'm at my marker, my last 4 border stitches. So you need to make 1 purlwise. Now, normally for make 1 purlwise, you're going to pick your yarn up. A lot of people pick it up with this needle. I like this one because it's easier for me. It's a little harder for me to maneuver that way, but you can do whatever you like. So normally for a make 1 purl, you'd go front to back, and then you have to come all the way back here and maneuver to purl. I don't like purling through the back loop. I have tendonitis issues. I have, sore wrists from working at least 100 yards a day, so I don't like it. I'm in my 40s. I'm not a contortionist anymore, so I want easier. So to make 1 purl, all you're doing with this stitch is picking up the bar, and then you have to twist it. It's the same thing if you're going to make one the regular, make one knitwise. It doesn't matter if it's right or left. You're twisting the stitch to close up that hole that you would make when you lift up the bar, because otherwise, bam, there's a hole. How do you close up the hole? You twist it around. Okay, so the nice thing is it doesn't matter if you twist at the beginning or at the end, as long as you twist. So my little cheat on the Make One Purl, hang on, I'm trying to find an angle where you can see what I'm doing, and I can see what I'm doing. My twist on the Make One Purl, instead of picking it up and putting it over there, I use the right needle to pick it up from the back. So I could put it on the needle and see how that would be the right direction. It would be a front to back on that one. Pick it up from back to front on the right. And then I make my needles kiss. And I just slide it over. And it's already twisted. Because it's already twisted, all I have to do is purl the regular way. See? Twisted stitch. It's twisted, it's done. And just to show you, see how it looks like a C with a line through it and a line coming out? I'll show you the regular way. Pick it up. Hurt my wrist by... Yep, see? It's hard for me to make sure I didn't split the yarn too. And I'm doing it into a camera and it doesn't make it easy. See what I mean? It's a pain in the patishkis. But once again, there's the C with the line through it and the yarn coming out. It's the exact same thing, minus the fact that I've stretched the yarn out ridiculously doing it. So let's do that one more time. Make sure I'm on camera when I do it. Instead of picking up like this, see, it's the same thing. I'm just showing you that front to back there, it's the same thing if I pick up like that. So I'm going to pick this bar up and back to front with my right needle, and I'm going to make them face the same way so that I'm slipping knitwise. And then I'm just going to purl like a regular old stitch. And there's my Make One Purl without having to hurt my wrists. Okay, so that was Make One Purl. Now let's finish up row 100. After the Make One Purl, we're going to do knit, purl to end it for the border. So I've got knit, I've got purl, I've got, oh wait, there's white yarn here, and I want to make sure it's locked in so it's not this big old floopy loop hanging out everywhere. I don't want a floopy loop. I want it to look pretty. So it's very easy to lock it into a last stitch, okay? Carry it straight up. However, remember, you are never going to work this first stitch with a new color. You will always work the second stitch with a new color. And this yarn is already kind of wanting to go that way. So instead of having it up here, right by the edge where you can kind of see it, let it keep going the way it's going. It will actually work to keep that stitch from getting wide and yucky too, and lock it into the second to last stitch. That way when you go to work it 2 rows from now, it is directly below where it needs to be. It's at the second stitch already. So I did this is such a funky angle and through a camera. I know I complain about it every time. Probably sick of hearing me complain. I don't care, I'm gonna keep complaining. Okay, so I did my knit purl, the last 2, knit purl. So this is how my yarn would look. I need this white to get locked in there. So what do I do with it? Before I, excuse me,